That's where, our chat where we're talking back and forth becomes so important. Yes. So someone was asking, is Cherokee all good? Listen, anytime you're in a camper, a thunderstorm's a thunderstorm. They're all, rough there. You're probably fine. Don't be as long as you're not under trees, and your camper's not too terribly tall or it hits a broadside, you're going to be fine. But that's not a severe thunderstorm, not like what we have south. So if that hopefully makes sense there. I see someone also follow some other folks there. Yeah, a lot of good folks, doing some weather around that we like, and a lot of folks doing a great job. Sarah will look up at Corinth in a minute, but I think you're okay that far north. Appreciate y'all, Andrew, and your support. Followed me since I was in my home state of Kansas. I appreciate that. That's I appreciate that. It's been a hot second, and typically we go up there this time of the year. But with launching news as part of Mississippi Live this year, we didn't really get an opportunity to make it up to Kansas. So unfortunately, missing out on that. Let's cut back here for a moment. Hold on, because that is a little bit stronger, slightly higher up than it looked a moment ago. Up here, this is going to be over top of Meridian there. This has yet to fall out of it in the north side of Meridian. That probably is some hail that could be damaging, and definitely is going to be some strong gusty winds. So that the reason that severe thunderstorm warning has been issued for locations there, as you can see as I'm cutting through that, showing what's happening aloft. But yet, if you look at the ground level there, it should still just be green. That's the beauty of being able to use Mama Justice Doppler and look up in the thunderstorm and be able to kind of cut through and get a better idea on that. Clearing all that off here for a moment and try to kind of make this maybe a little bit more normal looking. What I can see is there's one spot here that's bowing out a little bit, and that typically right along I-20, maybe slightly north of I-20, you have the threat of this initial storm there in Meridian, but this one has more wind coming in from the west, or at least more sustained wind. We have not had a ton of reports looking at it behind the scenes, which is why I'm leaving the chat up maybe slightly more than I usually do, just in case you guys have some more to say there. Appreciate you, Donna, for trusting us here. And if you have not picked up the Mississippi Live Weather app, please do that. That's probably the best way you can help us. We have, obviously alerts on there, the lightning and heavy rainfall alerts. I talk about them all the time. They're some of my favorite, simply because they're just so stinking fast. We'll say 25 miles per hour on the forward motion on that. So tracking that there again toward the Collinsville area, and right now Fellowship 404 toward Enterprise about 423 as that moves eastward. We'll kind of change the size of folks that we're tracking here for just a moment. And so Meridian, we show about 434 for kind of storm number 2. Storm number 1's already over top of you. Storm number 2, that would be, generally speaking, timing. I might be slightly too slow on that track, so let's speed that up. That's going to shave off a couple minutes. So give me just a moment here. There we are. There, that's about 426, 427, I think, especially for the west part of town. That's probably a lot closer to the time. That might even be just a little bit slow for you. Going to the wind here, decent distance away from the radar site, but everything here just says straight line winds directly east along I-20, slightly north of I-20, where they are the strongest. What I show up here in DeKalb, around DeKalb, up here in Kemper County, all the different ways we're looking at it, I don't think there's anything damaging or severe out of this, unless I'm very wrong, which, I'm a human. We're always one day closer to making our next big mistake, right? But I'm not particularly concerned by what I'm looking at out of that at this point. Even our severe threats only really coming in the green, as heavy rainfall being the main issue. Farther south, obviously, there are more purples. As we talked about a minute ago, now starting to show more hail potential there closer to Meridian as we kind of level the playing field and look at all threats at once. Let's hone in specifically on hail. And looking specifically, yeah, you can shut it. I can't hear, guys. I'm trying to watch TV. See, and that's the beauty of the Mississippi Live Weather app. When you're under it, you can watch us here. When you're not, you can shut your dad in on a weekend in his office, like my children. Bless them. They're good kids. Hey, listen, you know what? In this kind of, that's the beauty of Mississippi Live. We're not covering up any other programming other than what we would cover weather. That's the whole point here. So looking at Savannah Grove, again, lightning has increased on that storm there in and around the Meridian area. That's, again, as it's generating and probably producing a little bit of that hail that could be coming along with it. Let's look at the whole region as a whole. Once again, I'm going to come up north here, and we're going to look from a couple different radar sites at this. Our storms are pretty spotty up here. I had someone, asking to start north here, talk about Corinth, and kind of work our way southward. I don't show anything severe out of any of these storms this far north. Our camera's up here in Iuka. GHI. It's just showing again the scattering of clouds that we have with storms starting to try to form there, but nothing of grave concern. Going over to southern Alcorn County and Rienzi. Again, it's that mix of clouds. The storms are trying to pop up. So answering for you in Alcorn County, it's unlikely, I would say, that we're talking about severe weather potential for you going forward today. Weird things can sometimes happen. Some strong gusty winds from time to time, still a possibility. Out in Boonville right now, again, you can look towards some of those storms there on the horizon, but none directly overhead at this point in time. Then, let's see if that's going to populate there. Well, Edinburgh, I forgot. We've switched that one out for a different camera now. We've switched that one out for Carthage, and I'll see if we can pull up the Forest and Carthage cameras, as well as those storms kind of moving away. Philadelphia did a good job on it a minute ago. Let's pull up Philadelphia as we go south. So ultimately, if you're in the traditional viewing area, and if you've been watching me for years, you know what I mean when I'm saying that. We're the northern and eastern portion of the state. We don't have anything of significant concern out there at this point in time. Though lightning still showing up in Philadelphia, though the storms, the last update in the last couple minutes here in Neshoba County completely canceled out of that severe thunderstorm warning. Those storms moving away from you, taking most of the significant and potentially severe weather with them as well as they move toward the south and east. And I appreciate our partners at the North Mississippi Storm Chasers on this camera network here across the northern part of the state of Mississippi. I am interested to see, if you give me a moment, whether or not that time lapse from West Point has exported yet, because it looked awesome. And I do see that we've kind of had, I'll pop up that West Point camera here for a moment before I go back south. Yeah, there we go. Just give me a moment here to render speed. I want it to be target time. We'll make it about 30 seconds. Download that. And let me import that into something else that we can show that. Well, it's taking its time to render that out. West Point, again, it's kind of a mix of raindrops there, though you can see just past that this storm is not a long-lived one in West Point. A good example of that, again, this is what a lot of us are going to see: heavy rainfall for moments and then kind of collapse. That's what that storm there in West Point has done. And it was never a truly strong storm per se. So we just don't have things as kind of organized to produce overly active or severe weather today for the most part. I would say that's the way I would describe things. So, which is a good thing. I don't think people necessarily complain about that. Let me drop that over to recorded videos. And let me get that video into the system so we can show you. So a brief moment here. Apologize as we're trying to kind of get things straightened out. I'm again looking at your chat. Appreciate you there in West Point for watching us. Let's slide southward here. We almost see more on this storm back toward Meridian by looking from too far away in the radar site down in Monroe County, because you can see more of the bright pinks and everything that are showing up there aloft with this as well. Lightning certainly increasing, and kind of the north and west side of Meridian in particular, where this storm is the heaviest. Let's pull this clip to the top here. A moment, and I need to pull that. So this would be our And then that needs to be, change that to 1. Okay, and delete. Sorry, we've launched a new system here to be able to get videos in. You can, using the Mississippi Live Weather app, submit your videos as well. But I'm learning in real time here how easy or not easy it is to kind of pull in this sort of stuff. So we will find out here in just a minute how easy or not easy that was to kind of bring it in this way. And I think I have it set to where my microphone should be. Matt SRT, that hopefully will work. Okay, we'll give that a couple minutes. So checking your reports here for a moment. Janice White and Ayuka, glad to have you. Look like things are okay there as well. Some rain, need some rain in Pinedale. I get that. Need more, I mean, and that's the thing. We've had some pockets where we've had a lot of rain. We have pockets where we have not had as much as well. Someone wants me to come mow their yard. I'm barely mowing my yard, Steve. I'll tell you right now, it's not really happening. Dark cloud, no rain there. One way in which you can, help us is by sharing those pictures using the Mississippi Live Weather app. And we oftentimes say one of the ways to do that is by building your armor. The app will give you the alerts, but it'll also give you the information as things, happen and progress. And so excited for folks that are just now kind of discovering this, and hopefully it's something that you find useful. But make sure, Weather Call is kind of a personalized phone alert that also sort of gives that information as well. You can, again, find out more information on our using the QR codes there to download that. See here behind the scenes, where is recorded update? Recorded update, it should be in this one. Here we are. Okay, now we can finally show you that thing from West Point I was trying to show you. Let's see if my audio stays on it. There we go. So this is an example of that time lapse we were talking about, of that storm kind of moving into and near the West Point area, of that rain sort of coming out of this kind of this ominous band of rain sort of moving from left to right there on the screen, part of our North Mississippi Storm Chasers camera network. But you can get even under one of those, especially where it kind of bows out to the east there, the right a little bit there. You can still from time to time get some gusty winds out of those as well. I forgot apparently to change that. Didn't get everything right, which is okay. Let's go ahead, and so that's reminding folks about the dream home. We're gonna have to clear all that out, hit that again. And then when that is done, we will come to there. Got new toys, learning how to make them work right. A little while, apparently. That's okay. We'll get there at some point here. I'll have to change that to SRT and change it to 1. And change that to I must misspell my own name. There we go. And we'll make that where that comes in at 1,000. Done. Okay. Let's try that one more time. Then we'll know if we have the right answer here. That should come to here. That did not do it keyed. So I did not do it right. But if I made it SRT, did vmix, it would have worked right. That's why. Okay, it's coding. I tried to explain, sometimes kids are like, why do we need to learn coding? You need to learn coding because the entire future is coding. Coding's about what I do now. Look, that worked right. 15th time's the charm. Let's reset things here for a moment. So come wider. Outside in our traditional coverage area, again, no severe weather at this time in the northern part of the state. and we have not got a ton of reports out of where these storms are down here around Meridian. I'll be clear, if I was sure we were having damaging storms, we wouldn't be trying to fix things live on camera. But I will say that, on the north side of Meridian, that if it's going to start producing some spotty wind damage, this would be about the time that could occur for some locations there. So a greater chance of that as that kind of works its way eastward over the next little bit. So I'm tracking not just the rain, but kind of the heaviest portion of this as well. So we're now at 23 miles per hour. Again, severe thunderstorm warning there, Lauderdale County in particular. And maybe some hail with this. The lightning certainly is up on this. I'll say if you're back out here in Newton County, we can come out of any sort of sheltering that we're in. The worst is past it for you. Same thing in northern Lauderdale County, and most certainly same thing up in Neshoba County. We're out of there, out of Kemper County as well. This is solidly Lauderdale County. And technically, we don't cover Lauderdale County. I know we're digital only. And so it's one of those we can kind of make choices sometimes, but don't really have the staff to cover the entire state yet. That's coming. We'll get there. We'll get there. We're just not at that stage yet. And so all of that to say, we'll probably start suspending their coverage here in a minute related to this. Pull down that lower third there so you can kind of see all of the screen for a moment, because again, you go farther north, look in the northern part of the state, we don't really have a whole lot up here. Some spotty storms, yes, but Meridian is we might just at some point cover Meridian more consistently. And what day is better than today, right? To do that. So severe thunderstorm warning and continuing with storms there, moving into Meridian. I'm a verbal processor, if you haven't figured that one out. So I think things through live on air while we're kind of thinking this. But again, I don't know that this is necessarily truly severe. Let us know. I'm going to pop the comments up here, and I watch the comments very, very closely. Water Valley, you're good to go. You're fine. Ryanzi, you're fine. Again, Dark Clouds mentioned that. Not a ton of comments coming in for the folks out there today. So that's a good sign. Again, you can share your comments, your concerns. We can say that as well. And your storm reports with us using the Mississippi Live weather app. Let me double check those storm reports. We have not looked at pictures closely today. Give me a moment to pop those up here behind the scenes. And there we are. So we do have a few pictures out there. Okay, so this is a new one coming in about 3:40, so it's not super duper new, from Hamilton, Brenda, with this shot here of, actually this is probably that exact same storm that we were looking at a moment ago there, from the West Point area, because that was Hamilton, and so it's probably the same storm there as that came through. So a shot there of, again, kind of the rain falling out of one of those storms. So let's give again another look here at the downburst from our camera there in West Point, a time lapse that we had from about 30 minutes ago or so. You can see the raindrops all kind of falling out of this thunderstorm here. Oh man. So are we good on Facebook or not? Because somebody told me that Facebook is looping the same thing over and over, and somebody said it's not. Give me a second here to figure this out. Some days, Mama said we'd have days like this where I'm also going to have my face over that. I guess I need to put clear all, have to have it clear all of the different overlays as well. We'll put that on our list. So let's check here. It looks like that's fine. See, it looks like it's fine, but is it fine or not? Yeah, it's fine. Okay. So it might depend on your Facebook on which one it is. Looks like we're fine at the moment there as well. Somebody asking, what about Tupelo? Tupelo's fine. No issues up here. We might have some thunderstorms. No issues. No severe weather up here. That's the reason we're down south on this today. Kind of the wide shot. Again, there's basically nothing up here in the northern part of the state. Even if I'm looking at, my most significant severe threats, we go back to rainfall mode. We might have a few storms try to pop up farther north. But in all likelihood, the more significant severe weather, anything like that, that would end up being farther south. So I think we're good as far as that is concerned. That's why we're kind of concentrating down south. You could almost see sort of a ring of fire, not actual fire, but sort of a ring there where the storms are all firing up, where you almost kind of had an initial place where probably you had an initial wave that came from storms. In fact, we go back far enough. Let's just find that out. Make it a 6-hour loop here. Go back way too far. You can sort of see that there was some kind of a boundary there, right? And so that's been the thing that has helped these storms to kind of fire up all along there as well, kind of working their way eastward. And so the storms we have down south in Meridian also kind of fall in that category. So Tupelo, no issues up here with that. Obviously Meridian, it's a little stronger there. The times on the screen for Lauderdale County continue. Pretty much right where I put that white line coming out of that is our strongest portion of the thunderstorms. Lightning certainly has increased somewhat on this storm here. So I'm going to change our lightning indicator back to kind of a little vertical line. So we can kind of see more of the radar through it. Again, this is the Houston portion of Meridian, not Houston, Chickasaw County, but Houston portion of Meridian there, showing the heaviest part of that move toward Marion and Russell there along I-20. Of course, we have 45 inbound there in Meridian. You can see that kind of top of your screen right there. Yeah, so heaviest portion of that going through there. Do not have a whole lot of other reports. And with that in mind, our warnings for all the locations we officially cover here have all been canceled at this point in time. So Neshoba County out of this, Newton County out of this as well. So now it is folks down here in Lauderdale County looking at the hail, our True Shield hail swath. Now that has become a little bit more prevalent. We are looking fairly high up on this, about 2,600 feet off the ground, about half mile off the ground. Still showing some hail at that height there. Not all that probably making it all the way to the ground. Our friends at True Shield Roofing, though, if you happen to, for one reason or another, get a hailstone in excess of 1 inch in size, send that picture in. Let us know. Largest hailstone in excess of 1 inch in size wins a $100 Walmart gift card from our friends at True Shield Roofing. Kind of a way to make a bad day slightly less bad. That's at least their goal. And the reason we're kind of paired up with them on that, and appreciate them. Now, typically, if we were looking at hail that was severe, we'd start getting this where it kind of changes up here at the top to the darker purple there. That's the point where we know we're probably dealing with severe hail with this. That is not the case at this point. So we'll say possible on the hail that is large, not necessarily probable or likely at this time. Looking at basically everything we have, some gusty winds certainly moving through the city grid there of Meridian near 34th Street, crossing through town at this time. So again, approaching 5th Street in downtown and then moving closer to 45, which of course would be runs right there on our map. So about to cross 45, probably crossing it now for some of those gusty winds. So I know some folks might be coming back from the beach or the coast. If they're coming along 45, now is about the time it's about to hit. It's not a lot of good heads up on that, so I apologize for that. But pretty much crossing 45 now. Outside of that, there's not a lot out there. Not a lot of other places that we're looking at here. So yeah. Your feed cut on our Facebook page and had to restart it. Okay, well, Facebook's been weird today. It's on my list. Let me put clear overlays and fix Facebook. That's my to-do list for Sunday. I'm going to check with our meteorologist, Caleb Edelblut, who should be back in our Tupelo studios there for kind of an update on what he is seeing here in a minute. Hopefully we'll be able to hear from Caleb here in a minute on what he is seeing on this. But again, severe thunderstorm warning continues down here Lauderdale County until 4:45. Some gusty winds certainly possible out of this storm as it moves eastward. If you know somebody down here and maybe they don't have Mississippi Live weather app yet, you can pick that up for iOS and Android devices. Of course, it has those alerts, everything you need as far as that's concerned, and our live coverage here that we do. So you can get that in the Mississippi Live weather app, free and available for pretty much every different device that you could hope, pray, wish to have. You can find it on there as well. As we bring in our meteorologist Caleb Edelblut. Welcome back from Speaking to the Coast. Welcome back from a day or two of going down to the beach. Do you run any storms on your way back up?
No, I was watching radar the whole way up. I could see them in the distance, and it was cool seeing that time lapse of that kind of downburst over West Point. I was watching that as I was kind of going through, and thankfully I was on the other side of it, so was not caught in any rain, but saw quite a few showers on my way back up today.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad to have you back for sure.
Yes, sir.
Have you seen? I haven't checked power outages to kind of see if there's any issues with that as well. So I probably should start by checking my system. It does look like there's a few there showing up, just really spotty. But if I look at the numbers on that, I'm going to guess that's very limited. In fact, less than 100 looks like all locations. So that's usually a sign that if we're talking severe weather, it's usually a bigger issue. And Louisiana's had more of those than what we have had here. Mm-hmm. So not a lot of power outages. That's a good sign. That means that, we're getting closer to wrapping up this coverage and hopefully wrapping up for the entire day as far as that's concerned. Well, I am. You're on at 6 o'clock, obviously, with the forecast.
Yes, sir.
So, but yeah, so have you seen anything in the chat or online or anything of concern?
No, I was just checking the outage map that I have on my end and not really seeing any bright colors pop up at this moment. So nothing eye-catching, which is always very good to see, or technically not to see. So definitely some good news so far.
You always want to not see it, but yeah, I think you're right. It's anytime we can get lucky enough that that's the case, then take what you can get. I didn't get to go to the beach this time around, but I'm looking down here toward Biloxi, and I'm a little jealous what they have down there. Even though there's some clouds and some rainfall, I don't know, something about the coast, right?
There's something about the coast. I even woke up bright and early this morning, saw a little shower out there in the ocean before heading out. It was nice. It was a good start to the day.
That's almost always a great start to the day. Okay, well, keep looking behind the scenes here. We're going to go about another 15 minutes with this, and then I think we'll probably be able to wrap up our coverage here a little bit. I'll give you a chance to kind of get some stuff forecasted there behind the scenes.
Matt,
make sure we're all good.
Actually, I think my box just went out, so you have gone quiet, but I'll fix that behind the scenes and get that fixed for you in just a second. Perfect.
Okay, sounds good. Talk to you in a little bit. Okay, again, as we kind of reset things here for a moment, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. You're watching Mississippi Live. Again, we're a 24/7 streaming service based out of the Tupelo, Mississippi area here. Watching a storm producing some lightning, heavy rainfall there along Highway 39 there in the Meridian area, kind of about to cross 45. Looking for the hail threat on it, and that has come up maybe just a little bit more here. Again, this is 45 kind of right there. And so basically crossing 45 now, downtown Meridian, obviously with some of that heavier precipitation, and might include some hailstones with that. The wind, the strongest wind kind of moving through some of those spots as well, as that moves again eastward at about 25 to 30 miles per hour. 30 might be overdoing it on the speed. We'll say 25 to 30 miles per hour. So let's get kind of a new updated track. We'll say 25, 26 miles per hour. We'll kind of expand that out appropriately. So there we go. And perfect. And so you can see Russell, we're looking at for you at about 433. Enzor at 437, close to Toomsba at 445. Smith at 450. So moving eastward again toward the Mississippi-Alabama state line over about the next 30 minutes or so. It's on the other side of Meridian. I think we'll go ahead and suspend the coverage here. Technically, we don't count Meridian as part of the coverage area, but we're on. We've got stuff working, and we know that TV stations don't always cover just severe thunderstorm warnings. So that's part of the reason why we're trying to do this. Make sure we at least give some folks some information. Hopefully they'll be in good shape from that. Let's look three-dimensionally on this. A 3D look at these storms, always kind of the way we poke and prod and look aloft and see if there's something more there than maybe meets the eye at ground level. This has largely consolidated over the last really 15, 20 minutes or so. I'll make this a 45-minute loop, 1 minute data. We'll sort of loop it like that. Give it another try here. There we go. And so it's about as tall as it has been for a while there, right? So we could still have maybe 1 or 2 hailstones with this. I think it's part of the reason that true shield hail threat has gone up slightly. So we sort of do our action where we cut into the heaviest part of this. Yeah, I would say that's as likely as what we've seen in a while to possibly have some hail in it. Yep. So let's go back to current time. Let's go 2D with this. High. We're about 60 dBZs. So again, this is northeast of downtown, about to cross 45. That split there with 39 in the Meridian area. But this purple you see there, kind of on the north side of town there, is pretty much right there at the split. And probably includes some hail that could be up around, I mean, I would say dime to possibly nickel size hail. Could be a little larger than that. Might even have some quarter size hail. You'll notice how this pink has come down. And down is not a good thing in this case. So if we go back here, scan. See how it was higher up here, higher up in the storm? And then vertically speaking, it has come down. So that is our hail falling. Now, is that hail going to be hail that's 1 inch in size? Maybe. Is it going to be hail that melts on the way down and maybe is 1/2 inch in size, but then has stronger gusty winds? Either situation is where you get sporadic damage from wind and or hail, and so that's the reason the severe thunderstorm warning has been issued. So right where I have a little white line coming across there, sort of almost pointed out like a little arrow, that is our spot there where it is most likely probably have some hail and or wind damage at this moment. All these white lines you see here, the white vertical lines come out, those are lightning strikes. When you see them flashing, those are lightning strikes within the last 2 minutes. So we do have some where that is the case. That's not every one of these storms, especially kind of right in here close by where our hail core is where we have some of those that are flashing and looking a little bit more like that. So just north of Marion, north of Russell, where the most intense part of that will end up tracking. Let's expand our track just slightly more to include a few more folks because of that slight change there. Give me a moment. I'll make sure we clip that a little better because I think, well, we're going to have to go about on the whole thing because the north side, I want to track specifically that little hail core there because over the next 5 minutes, if not just right now, is when it's most likely to cause whatever issues it's going to have. So really, it's the next 5 minutes here as it goes over Topton there. That's where it's most likely to cause. If it's going to be dropping some big hail, now is the time for that to happen. I don't really think we're probably larger than 1 inch in size. And even then, that might be pushing it. But we could potentially have some strong wind gusts to go along with that. So again, Topton right now, Lockhart at 439, Lauderdale at 450. 5 o'clock Tamola there. This, whatever it is, will have fallen well before that point and time. If you do not have it, or if you've never heard of it, one thing that you should consider getting in this situation is something we call Weather Call. It's a phone alert system that lets you know if your location is in the danger zone, and then we'll give you a phone call if that is the case. It does come with a fee. That fee is something that we pass on basically from the vendor because making phone calls costs money. Why do you need a calling service when you're watching on an app? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm really, really great at ignoring things on my app, especially in this kind of situation where I'm live and I get a lot of alerts coming through. I ignore every one of those. But if a phone call were to come through, I'd know it right then. I know it right there. And so no phone calls, we're talking fine. But a weather phone call is a disruptor. or a phone call in general is a disruptor. So that's the reason why we talk about weather call. That's the reason we think it is useful, valuable, and something you should consider for you and your family. For $15 a year, scan that QR code and get more information on an alert service that I've had for my family for 20 years now. Before the dawn of the smartphone, I've had it, and I still pay for it for my parents to be able to have it still to this day, because I think it has value to it. Looking here, another thing that is popped on that I don't want to get past here for a moment is because of all the heavy precipitation with this, National Weather Service there in Jackson has issued a flash flood warning also for Meridian and Lauderdale County because of the very heavy rainfall coming from this. It's not something we've really touched on. Looking at the rainfall over the last 3 hours, estimations more than 2 inches of rain. Obviously, all of that coming pretty much with that storm that came through first, and then this kind of second storm that's moved through. So more than 2 to nearly 3 inches of rainfall for some spots, possibly falling out of this. So that could lead to some rainfall issues. The rate at which the rain is falling is somewhere between heavy and extreme. And up here where it shows that kind of extreme is where we also have that potential of probably producing some hail as well. So again, multiple threats there. Going right along I-20, so folks traveling to and from wherever you're going from the 4th of July holiday or coming back from that, that's one of the other alternate sort of concerns to go along with this. Bring the chat back. We haven't had a whole lot of reports out of this here. Pond Talk wanting to know, watching in Houston. Thank you, Casey, for watching, and Jewel and everybody else, Deborah, Joyce. Let's go ahead and come wide here for a second. Kind of address the northern part of the state. The reason we're not talking about the northern part up here is we don't really have anything up here. Looking from Memphis, looking from our site there in Monroe County. Nothing of incredible significance up here in the northern part of the state. A couple little pop-up showers like the one we have here south of the Bent Oak community, there south of the GTR airport, but no real issues with that. And these storms we have out near Russellville or up here toward Iuka, or up toward Collegiate and Selmer, Tennessee, Burnsville. These are all, again, below severe limits. Now, our cameras up here, again, do show some decent shots of these. Iuka, good example of that. Some low-hanging, dark, kind of what we call scary-looking clouds on our FM Bank camera up here. One of our newest partners here on Mississippi Live, Farmers and Merchants Bank. Glad to have them part of what we do here and for what they do, again, for the community, showing some of these, low-hanging clouds going along with it. So this looks worse than it is. I know if you step your front porch and you look at that, it's easy to say, I see Deborah, watching from Tishmingo up there. These are probably not going to produce severe weather today. We'll look at them a couple different ways here in a moment. They'll have some gusty winds. And as I'll say, from now until, I don't know, probably 3 years from now, because of the ice storm, it's still possible that limbs and things can fall in non-severe thunderstorms. 30, 40 mile per hour winds can knock down a limb that's already dangling. So a possibility we still have some power outages, things of that nature, limbs that fall because of just the tremendous ice storm damage that we had earlier this year. We'll slide over to Boonville. As we go down to Prentiss County there, that's looking the opposite direction all the way down. Those are the storms down there closer to Meridian, probably from our view there in Boonville. I'm going to slide Boonville around. We'll look up north toward the other thunderstorms. I take that back. Those are looking east toward Alabama, some of those storms. Let's switch this a little bit back toward. There we are. That's more northeast. So that's looking kind of toward some of those storms in Tishmingo County, and the storms up towards Selmer, Tennessee. So not super tall either. From this distance away, I'd expect to be looking a lot farther distance. I'd expect them to look a lot different than that. So it tells you these storms are pretty small there as we look out of our camera in Boonville through some of those thunderstorms up that direction. Heavy rainfall, some lightning, yes, but severe weather, less likely out of those storms. And someone was asking about Tupelo a minute ago. We have not really addressed it too terribly closely, but it's just kind of a hot and mainly sunny day in the Tupelo area. We're sort of between where there's some storms north and some storms down south. Our camera there again brought to you by Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling. I'll swing this around toward the south to see how far away those storms look. And yeah, you can, see some of what you had there, kind of the convective debris from the storms are a lot farther south, but there's nothing really developing here close by of any significance. Not at this time. So I'm just kind of spinning that around. It's part of how we have to kind of interrogate the atmosphere, get an idea of what it's sort of capable of. And I guess to kind of finish our tour here for a moment, I'll go out to Clarksdale. Look at that camera a second ago. The other example of what it could be like. 88 feels like 104, and beautiful clear skies on a sunny and hot day. So kind of the variety of things that we have going on here across the state of Mississippi, northern part of the state of Mississippi at this time. Speaking of the state, let's go wide and catch the whole state here for a moment. Our severe thunderstorms, there's really that one warning continuing in and around the Meridian area that we do have. Also a flash flood warning there in and around Meridian as well. Outside of that, these storms remain below severe limits and hopefully will stay that way, including the one we have there near Newton that we're watching. A little bit of lightning starting to probably pick up on that one, not nearly as much as what we have going through the Meridian area at this time as well. What about Saltillo? Hey, Saltillo, I think, everywhere up here north, it's unlikely we get all the way to severe limits. Certainly closer to the Tennessee state line, that's where we're more likely to have some issues kind of popping on there as well. Pontotoc area, I'll say this one more time, and maybe I'm not being clear enough on this here for the northern part. We will still have some pop-up storms up here. Like from time to time, there's going to be some storms to pop up. But the greater chance for maybe a stronger thunderstorm. Obviously, you can tell without even, need a meteorology degree kind of where that is there. That threat, we have a level 1 out of 5 severe weather threat. It's not a tornado threat. It's the spotty wind damage reports. It's maybe some hail, but wind, if we're going to see something, that remains a possibility. But most of this active weather and severe weather with this is still kind of translating toward the south and east. So not impossible to be filling with a few more storms, but that'll be probably more the exception, the rule, than the rule of thumb itself. So with that in mind, we've got this through the Meridian area. Hey, Caleb, I need to trade you out here for a minute. I have a pickup order. This is going to sound super dumb. I have a pickup order I have to go and get. And this is a scenario where we don't technically cover Meridian, but I do want to, since we've got on here, want to stay on for a few minutes with them if we can to kind of wrap things up and get them through that 4:45 time period there. Once it's a little bit east of town, I think we can probably shut it down once this kind of main warning for town shows up there. So I'm going to send it to our meteorologist, Caleb Elblue. You might want to go to the chroma wall for this. Hold on a second here. Okay, I'll give him a second to get over there and get online with that. Are you good? You had a look on your face.
It's logged out over here, so I didn't know if me booting stuff up would kind of kick you off.
No. You should be good.
Okay, perfect. Well, then I can get that set up for us.
Okay, cool. Give me a thumbs up here in a second, and well, I'll just leave you up for a moment here, and kind of reset things here for just a second. Current time is now, what are we at? 4:40. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lawpon. We've got about 5 minutes left in the severe thunderstorm warning for Meridian proper. Looking at hail and everything along those lines, that has not really increased in the last few minutes. The wind, I would say, again, along I-20 where it's tracking toward Tumsuba. Do you know that one?
I don't know that one. That's definitely a new one for me.
Okay, well that's one of the spots there in the path. We keep it like super in and localized there.
Yeah, these are some slow moving storms too.
They are not. They are absolutely. And there is at least one report of flash flooding there. It looks like coming in the last couple minutes. I'll let you take that, Caleb.
Okay, perfect. Well, yeah, I know that's one of the things Matt was just talking about with the National Weather Service down there in Jackson, reporting and kind of putting out that flash flood warning. So we're already seeing those reports start to come in, which is not a good thing to see, but very good to see that the National Weather Service was already on top of that. We saw that warning get issued before we started to see this coming in. So this was actually due to a social media video of flash flooding occurring along North Hill Street, just outside of the Meridian area, just north of it. So already seeing that report come on in. Actually, I just cleared off those locations, so we can do that again. Let's clear this and kind of stay really local with this as it continues pushing pretty much outside of the Meridian City, getting closer towards you guys out there in Cuba. I think he had it around 18 miles per hour. So Suba around 452, Alamucha around 455, and still just
Hey,
seeing those
here's
kind
one.
of do what?
So one thing you can do is if you click off of that, right? You click away from it or
Uh-huh.
click off. Oh, hold on, let me steal for just a second. If you
Okay.
click off it for a second like that, let me see if I get it. If you click back in it again, right click back in it again, it'll pop it
Okay.
back up.
Okay, perfect. I
So
didn't know
that's
if it deleted it like permanently and I had to redo it or if I could pop it back up.
if the track is still on there, you could right click on it because the idea is that you could conceivably have 2 or 3 or 4 different tracks on there, right? And just click between them
Mhm.
on which one you're pulling up. And
All
so
right.
sometimes in severe weather, I think we'll do that where we'll have multiple tracks on there,
Mhm.
um, if that makes sense.
Good to know.
Okay. Anyway, okay. Good luck.
All right, thank you. Well, yeah, we're
Welcome.
continuing to look at this severe thunderstorm warning, pretty much pushing outside of Meridian now. So now on the eastern side as it continues pushing along I-20. So again, very wind driven. This is kind of like the storms we've been breaking down a lot this past week. We're not really dealing with anything tornadic by any means. It's just bringing these hefty wind gusts, of course, some heavy rainfall, which is why that flash flood warning was issued, and also the potential of hail, which on the bright side, especially when Matt was breaking that down, nothing's looking too impressive. So that continues to be a very positive note, but still dealing with that just a little bit. But we can even go on a loop past few scans just to see how this has moved. Oh yeah, I mean, take a look at those darker reds, brighter returns, and watch it kind of almost turn more faint. We're starting to see more of those oranges, those yellows pop on up. We can actually look at our lightning strikes too. So it's at 432, which I'm always covering it up with my head. You can back it up just a little bit, see how those have changed. And I mean, it's stuck around 440. I stopped at 422 or 28, excuse me. But once we start to see those lightning strikes start to dip down, you can almost imagine it kind of like the battery of a thunderstorm. Very high voltage. It can keep that thunderstorm going. But when we start to see those start to decrease, and that means that thunderstorm is starting to kind of die off and that battery not really as strong as it was. So definitely good sign to see kind of those yellow, oranges colors starting to return. We're not seeing that same level of intensity. We're also seeing those lightning strikes continue to falter as well. So it's losing that energy as it gets closer and closer towards the state line. So again, we're dealing with pretty much just hefty wind gusts. Let's take a look at, I believe we're looking through Jackson. That'll be our best look. Let's look at our threats. We're not even bringing up any hail at this point anymore. So this is a very good sign. Take a look at all that green. If we had to talk about any peak impacts or threats, green is definitely the best color because that's just showing heavy rainfall. So that's why we're seeing that flash flood warning in place. We're not seeing any purple, which would show hail occurring or the possibility of it. And definitely not talking about anything pink or red that you see above my head. That would mean we're talking about some rotation up there and then talking about tornadoes. That is not the story. Don't even want to say that word in case you guys are just tuning in because we are not talking about anything tornadic. So, of course, if you guys are tuning in here, we can reset here for Mississippi live weather. We're not talking about anything here on the northern half of the Magnolia State, actually. We're focusing on severe thunderstorm warnings more in central Mississippi. So thankfully, not seeing too much activity up here. We're still going to hear maybe a few rumbles of thunder throughout the afternoon and evening hours. I'll be breaking down those chances coming up here in almost the next hour and a quarter coming on up. But we are continuing to take special attention to this severe thunderstorm warning, which they actually just shaved off for only the eastern portion of this county. So definitely good news. And we're seeing kind of more intense or severe weather further on south. It's not bothering our main forecast area here in North Mississippi, but we were on and still kind of wanted to break this down as it leaves the Meridian area and get closer and closer towards the state line. So we'll keep this going for a few more minutes, but thankfully not impacting a lot of us here. Now, take a look at this too, just to show you guys the difference of maturity between these storms. You can take a look and see kind of not as big of a storm starting off, but we're not seeing any purples or just those darker reds as broad as this other storm down here. I mean, take a look at that. That could be a very impressive hail core, dropping some of that hail that this storm in Meridian was doing earlier, but we're not seeing that same level anymore. So that this storm's starting to die on off, lose that steam, that battery that we were talking about with those lightning strikes. And that's another thing. We're not seeing those as prominent here in this storm as compared to this one. So zoomed out, covering both of these storms in the top left corner of your screen, we're talking about 535 lightning strikes. Once we kind of take that other storm out of the picture, let's zoom in, kind of exclusively look at this one. It's even still taking some of the storms behind my head right here, just under our Mama Justice logo. We're only at 354. So Still, it's factoring in all those other storms. This storm continues to not be impressive as far as where it was earlier. So that continues to be a very positive thing. We can even back this up just so you guys know what we were talking about, especially if you were just tuning in. There's that darker purple that we were talking about, some of that hail kind of dropping down near the Marion community. And as it continued crossing over Highway 45, which I drove on earlier today, kind of seeing some of these showers pop up all across North Mississippi. It crossed on through and it lost that steam, that battery, that energy. So the theme with this storm continues to be it weakening, and we're going to see those warnings start to kind of get shaved off with it. We saw that flash flood warning get issued just because of that heavy rainfall. And that's what we were just looking at with our peak threat. So those warnings continue to get shaved off. Half of that county now not under it anymore. So as that storm continues to move on out, getting closer and closer towards the state line. Let's go back to those threats I was talking about. Again, we're not talking about any hail with that purple. We can actually move this down here if we were. This is kind of what it would look like. That's where we saw that kind of brighter purple return, that hail core. And we're seeing that with our peak threats as well, even a darker shade of purple embedded within that lighter shade. So showing that confidence increasing just a little bit for that storm further out there in Alabama. Thankfully, not the story for us here in North Mississippi, so we don't have to worry about that. Let everybody handle that for you guys out there across the state line. But continuing to look at the heavy rainfall, that continues to not be a threat. Looking at our hail track, it's not even, we'll put it back to precipitation so you know where that storm is currently. And then let's take a look at that hail track. Not really dumping that same amount of hail anymore. So that continues to be a very good thing as we kind of see it almost kind of already collapsed, dumped what it had out. Hopefully not really wanting to see a resurgence in that rainfall and kind of just intensity. So not really seeing that same level as it gets closer and closer towards the state line. You can see kind of where it was traveling through Meridian on the eastern side and getting closer towards the Marion community, kind of dumped everything it had and is moving on out. So that continues to be a very good thing here. Let's take a look. Let me change this over here so I can pull up the chat in case any of you guys have questions. Let's make sure I do it on the right one. Here we go. There we go. Let's take a look at some of your comments. I know someone is asking about Saltillo. Again, you could have your run-of-the-mill thunderstorms and maybe a few rumbles of thunder, but definitely not talking about anything severe here in North Mississippi at this moment. Like I mentioned, in an hour and 10 minutes, I'm going to be live covering down those rain chances as we go about the rest of our evening into the overnight period and also getting you ready for some more storm chances tomorrow. But thankfully here in North Mississippi, we're not talking about any severe thunderstorm warnings. These continue to be a little bit further on south in central Mississippi. That goes for the same of you out there asking about the Baldwin area. Some people saying thanks, covering for the Meridian weather. We appreciate covering that for you guys. Tishomingo County looks a bit dark over here. Well, we have some cameras up there. Let's come back and make this a little bit bigger for you guys as we go and take a look up in Tishomingo County. Zoom back out. Take a look at the camera. Let's see, might be propped up in the right way, and you might be seeing some thunderstorms nearby. There you go. Actually, we can talk about some of those thunderstorms right now. This is kind of what we're talking about. We're not talking about anything severe at this moment, but you can definitely see some showers move into North Mississippi, bring a few rumbles of thunder. Be curious to see if it's energetic enough to where we could see some lightning strikes on here, but it's always a good thing that we're not seeing that light show right now or as constant. So not talking about that high energy, that battery reaching its highest point with that voltage. So that continues to be a good thing, but you guys already reporting the skies looking a little darker in Iuka. You can see exactly why. We're starting to see that thunderstorm start to move in towards you guys. So let's change back towards our radar up here so we can take a look at that before we kind of wrap things up, because I want to get ready for the 6 o'clock show and make sure I got the best information for you guys. Let's zoom back in up here as we are seeing quite an energetic storm push into Tishomingo County, getting closer towards the Iuka region. We can back this up just a little bit, see how the storm has trended in the past few minutes. So definitely probably building up strength for sure. Also starting to expand a little bit. So we're going to have to keep our eyes on that one. Good news is, take a look at that brighter pink and purple right there, just between Crossroads and Burnsville. You can see that kind of really evident, very bright around 4:44 as we get closer and closer towards current time, already dimming and losing that. So hopefully we could see that trend continue. We might have already seen the most intense portion of that storm, and it's already starting to collapse, and it didn't even reach severe criteria. So that's kind of the best case scenario for all these storms this afternoon and into your early evening hours. We're just talking about a whole lot of maybe this, just some thunderstorms moving on through your run-of-the-mill summertime Mississippi thunderstorms. And if they were to go severe, we're going to be the first ones on to make sure to cover that for you guys as we continue heading into your Sunday evening and preparing for the work week. So let's zoom back out here again before we continue to wrap this up, because that storm is pretty much out of the Meridian area, about to cross into the state line. But for us here in North Mississippi, we're not talking about any of those severe thunderstorm warnings. So wherever you are here in our viewing area, we're not talking about anything severe. Could be talking about a few thunderstorms for just a few of you guys, but not encompassing all of us. And that's going to be the story. We're not talking about any frontal system bringing a widespread rain chances across North Mississippi tonight. They're going to be very isolated in nature. There's a good chance we can see some of it. There's also a good chance that we can stay dry. So that continues to be a very positive thing with this forecast. I know Mother Nature helping a few of us out watering the crops and the garden for us. And for those that don't get it, we're going to have to go out with the watering hose, watering can, and take care of it ourselves. But I'm going to wrap this up because, again, we're not looking at anything severe or intense here in North Mississippi. Behind the scenes, of course, we're going to continue to monitor those thunderstorms as they continue pushing on in, which before we do, I actually want to look with our Alcorn camera out there close towards the Corinth community, see what that other thunderstorm's looking like. You can kind of see those darker clouds. There we go. A little bit behind me. I have to stand in the middle just so you guys can see the two different stories here, whether we're talking about darker or lighter skies above you. So still seeing some thunderstorms push into our region this evening. That's going to continue to be the story. We're going to break that down for you coming on tonight at 6 to give you the very latest. But before wrapping this up, still, let me move this out of the way. That way you can see all of North Mississippi. We're staying mostly dry, dealing with a few thunderstorms out there in the northern half of Tishomingo County, but not dealing with anything severe at this moment. So that's going to continue to be the story throughout the rest of the evening. We're going to wind this down. Let me see where we are in our playlist. Of course, perfect. We can pop up the show lineup here for you guys. We'll be live later on tonight, pretty much in the next hour and 7 minutes is what it looks like. So 6 o'clock, tune in as we get you ready for the rest of your evening. We'll still be breaking down any ongoing thunderstorms here in North Mississippi. If anything go live, or if any of them go severe before we go live, we will definitely hop on, make sure you guys